Sasha Jaffarove. She is a young maker, not so young anymore, but really young when I first met her a couple years back, and took part in our Young Makers exhibit at Maker Faire every year. And I am inspired by her work and her ideas every single day, so we wanted to tell you a little bit more about what Sasha does and what she's doing and making these days. But first, we have a video to show.
I always hear like big noises in the room, and you hear a bunch of hammering and building and drilling. One time I was hammering something, and then I was like, wait, this is a good beat, and so I started hammering random things in my lap.
What's similar between music and making is that they both have the ability of freedom. You can do whatever you want. I'm Sasha, I'm 14 years old, and I'm going to the 10th grade. The first time that I knew I had test anxiety was in 8th grade. It was our midterm for English. And I studied really hard for it, and I just remember sitting down at the test. My hands were shaking, and I just was freaking out, and then got a really bad grade. I was going on a trip with my family, and I remember just walking through a cave, and I see a little hole inside the cave. So I asked the cave guide, what's behind that? Is there like another room or something? He's like, we don't know. We don't want to destroy the caves. And I was like, Dad, why don't we build a robot that can go inside there and scan the cave and map it out so we know if the cave is worth being destroyed for that small hole or not.
I saw Sasha building stuff. I'm like, hey, I can build stuff also. My name's Elena. I'm 10 years old and I'm going to this school. A creative person can be anyone, I think. No one has to tell you what to do. You can just like build anything you want.
1, 2, 3, fire!
Right now, my mom just gave me a VCR player, and it was all broken. And right now, I'm trying to take it apart and I'm seeing the components. My name is Kai. I'm 11 years old, and I'm going to 6th grade. This is like a big problem to me. When it gets overly hard, I feel like it's not going to be possible. I don't give up because I always know if you just keep trying, you'll get it one time at least.
Before I started the project, I felt like I wasn't the making type. I felt as if I was incapable of building something. After I built the project, I felt stronger, and that boosted me up and saying, hey, you know, I can actually do something. I feel more free when I'm making.
So Sasha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Sasha. Oh, you guys know that already. I am currently 15 years old and in the 10th grade. And I love to make, and I love to do everything basically. I don't think there's one thing that I don't like to do. Yeah.
How did you get into making? How did this all get started for you?
Well, I guess Maker Faire was a big part of it, you know, like my first Maker Faire, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, you know. So many people that are really smart come together and make something, you know, really cool and stuff. And but I guess ever since I was little, I was always curious about everything, like every other child, and I guess it started nurturing from there.
And tell us a little bit about the project that you mentioned in the video.
So I built a project called the Cave Mapper, and basically how it works is it uses a LiDAR and servos to map a cave. So basically it uses a LiDAR to shoot a laser, measure the distance, and it takes that distance and basically a whole a whole page of distances that the LiDAR measured, and emails that over Wi-Fi to basically like a 3D graph, and many points make an outline of a cave.
Wow, and why did you come up with this project in the first place? What was your inspiration?
Yeah, so when I was little, I went to a cave. I was like in 4th or 5th grade. And like any curious child, I was like, what's there? What's that? You know, what is all this? What's that? And what's this? And basically the cave guide, when I pointed to a small hole and said, what's behind that? He's like, oh, we don't know. We don't want to destroy the cave. And so I was like, okay, Dad, what if we build a project that we can send into that small hole and it can basically map to see if it's worth breaking down the wall or not, so we can preserve caves.
Have you tested this in a cave yet?
Yes.
Tell me more.
So basically, we just actually recently went to a cave in Sonora and mapped it, and either next summer or the summer after, we were going to Chile to map some caves there.
That's amazing. And I hear that you have your project here. Can you just show us a little bit? I know it's not running right now.
Yeah, sure. So it's not really complex, but it uses a Raspberry Pi and as the main microprocessor, and it uses a motor hat to control the servos, the stepper motors. The LiDAR I got from an online website, and it basically doesn't use that many components. I think the application is more important. It took some time to build and go through all the problems, but I think the application is unique, and that is what makes it such a cool project, because you can basically use this to map caves, and yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for showing it off. What kind of maybe problems or processes did you go through? Did you come across any challenges or mistakes when you were creating it?
Yeah, so I came through many problems. For instance, one of the problems was like how I was going to translate the data over to the map. And that was like a really big problem, and I basically solved that using like polar coordinates. It's really confusing. But another problem was I remember like I had trouble. So I got some code off of Adafruit, and there was some trouble with the code, and so like after a while of going through the code several times, even though I say I don't like to give up, this time like I had to like talk to Adafruit and say, hey, your code's not working, and so me and my dad figured it out together, and after a while we're like, oh, we solved it, and then we sent an email to Adafruit and they actually fixed their own code. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Do you do or learn any of this stuff in school?
No, but I'd like to give. I recently started teaching younger kids in my school because I feel like I didn't get that privilege. So I think teaching the younger generation about these things is like really important. But no, I didn't get it in school.
Do you think school should involve more making?
Absolutely.
So if you could if you're still in school right now, you're in high school, so if you could reinvent school, your classes, your subjects, what would it look like? What would you do?
It would definitely look more hands-on. I actually, last week, I think this current school system is kind of actually not kind of off, but it's really off and messed up. Like, my teacher said, my teacher told me a couple days ago, I was like, so, all these kids are working so hard, I think, they deserve A's. And he's like, no. Even if all kids tried hard and they got A's, I'm going to have to lower some of the grades, or put it on a curve. And I was like, you're kidding me, right? Some kids are not going to get into college and, be under other kids just because you lowered their grade. I think grades are ridiculous, and I think it should be more project-based and more hands-on for sure.
We got some claps there. Big claps for you. I would agree. Tell us why you like making. Why are you into it? Why do you think it's important?
Going off of grades again, making is not graded. No one's judging you. And making is I don't know, it can someone can just look at something and say, hey, let's improve that, and and it makes the world around you better. So yeah, I guess that's what I like making.
And based on the video and some of the conversations I've had with you, it sounds like you and your siblings and your family make together as well. Is that true?
Yes, for sure. We definitely do.
And what kind of projects are you guys tackling these days?
Well, for instance, me, my dad, and my brother like to, for instance, take apart things and like one time me and my brother, when we were like a bit younger, helped my dad build a computer, and that was really fun. And yeah, I don't know, we do a lot of projects together. We're trying to get my sister also really involved into making, because making for girls is really rough, People don't see girls at the same level, and so I think encouraging that would be nice.
That's awesome, and I think you kind of serve as a role model inspiration for that too. One of the things that we had talked about recently is that you were thinking of creating a maker club in your school or in your community, and you were out and about at the Mini Maker Faire in Santa Cruz as well. So tell us a little bit more about what that might look like.
So in Santa Cruz, while I was at the Maker Faire, I came in contact with many parents, and I was like, okay, hello parents, what do you think of me making a maker space in Santa Cruz? And they're like, wait, you're serious? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need for my kids. Everywhere is making me, pay huge amounts of money just so my kid can go for like a couple hours. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous actually. And so I was like, yeah, so I basically, this summer, one of my main focuses is going to be creating a maker group in Santa Cruz and as well as in my school, because, yeah.
That is awesome. And if you had advice for other young makers who wanted to get started, what would that look like?
So, like, for instance, if I would look back and give advice to myself in the past, I would say, don't let, I know a lot of parents, not intentionally, or teachers, like to put down, their kids. For instance, I had so many teachers that would say, oh no, that doesn't work. And I was like, well, at least let me try it. And sometimes I would actually be right, And so the teacher would be like, that's not going to work. And I was like, okay, let me show you. But I feel like kids should be more curious. If they're curious, it's a good thing, If there's oh, I'm gonna build a rocket ship, then say go for it, Don't say, oh, that's not possible because the trajectory of the rocket, blah blah blah. Just let them explore more. I think that's important.
That's awesome. And you were talking about how in creating your cave mapper, you came across polar coordinates and thinking about how the numbers and the mapping translates over to maps. That's math. What happens if math class looks something like what you're doing?
If math class looks something like what I was doing, then 50% of the kids might actually be awake, to be honest. Because people really underestimate math, and I think that...
Do you like math? Do you like science class at school?
Well, okay, if science class looked more like what I envisioned, then that would be nice, but currently, the teacher's trying to get through an agenda and is rushing everyone, and, kids don't get to ask their questions because they're following a curriculum, and so the teacher gets mad and the kids don't get their questions answered. So I actually don't like it at school, but yeah, hopefully it can change one day.
And I think you're still learning so much real math and science based on what you're already doing, so it's not like you're not learning anything. Can you tell us a little bit more about new projects that you might be working on?
Yeah, so my mom, she has a condition with her blood, and so I was thinking maybe getting into genetics so I can help possibly find a cure for her to change her genes since it's genetic based, and maybe help her and as well as many other people who are having this problem, and also building. I'm going to start building a heart rate monitor so I can measure my own heart rate. I was thinking about buying one, but they're like $300, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna build my own and personalize it the way I like it. So yeah, those are new projects I'm working on.
And you mentioned that there might be a watch associated with that too. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I was thinking of what's it called? A watch that could be connected to the heart rate monitor that can show, as well as track a bunch of other health things, as well as show me my heart rate, and I can personalize the watch to how I like it, instead of buying one.
That's amazing. You are doing a lot of things, and you're a high schooler. How do you have time for everything?
I always tell my dad if I had more time, like I could totally like help the world and change like so many things, and bring groups of people and start projects. So I guess whenever I even have like a 5-minute break, I just go in my lab and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like fix this or do this, or like actually a couple days ago, my dad was like, honey, did you do your homework? And I was like, yeah, I did it early in the morning so I can have time to make at home and stuff. So yeah.
That is awesome. I think we're going to open it up to questions from the audience, because I'm sure many of you are intrigued. So if you have any questions for Sasha and the work that she's doing, please let us know.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to ask questions. I am a middle school science teacher. My question to you would be, if you could tell your science teacher the 3 most important things to do for your science class, what would they be?
Alright, 3 most important things would probably be my science teacher. She rushes through the material a lot, and she skips a lot of questions sometimes so she can get through her curriculum. And I know teachers have a curriculum and a system, but maybe first of all, putting it more project-based, so more labs, more hands-on things. My science teacher, when we're intending to do labs, she kind of does the lab for the kids the certain way that she wants it to be done. And so I feel like most of the time she's actually doing things versus the kids actually exploring and doing things. What else? Oh yeah, more like large projects, so like larger, so like kids go outside of school and do things, help the environment around them, blah, blah. Yeah, basically, yeah, that's basically it. Oh yeah, and when like answering questions, don't sometimes, like as I said before, teachers and parents put kids down on accident. Like try to encourage them. If they have a wild idea, say, go for it, instead of, because they'll actually learn something probably,
Cool, thank you. That was good. Anybody else have questions for Sasha? In the meantime, if there was one thing at Maker Faire that you would recommend that everybody goes and sees, what might it be? Whether it's here this year or in the years past.
Everything's honestly really good. It's all like popcorn, really yummy and cool. And I don't know why I said popcorn, but it reminds me of popcorn. Yeah, just everything is really cool. This year there's a lot of kits that I've seen that is like a new thing, I guess. Before, my dad was telling me there wasn't a lot of hardware in the past, and people had to like recycle things from old printers and stuff. So I guess checking out a lot of these kits would be cool, actually buying one of them, even though they're a bit expensive. Sorry, kids. But I think that's really, really cool, just building something. So yeah, kits definitely.
Awesome. Does anybody else have a question for?
Yeah, I know. I'm in New York.
I guess I joined kind of late. Hello? You're trying to open a makerspace in Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
How far?